Hey, my name's Aaron. Welcome back to my channel, Help Me DIY. Today, I bring you episode 3 of the Ultimate Porsche Boxster Buyer's Guide. So if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, please check them out here. I have a playlist that will have all of the episodes of this. Subscribe to the channel and you will be notified when new ones come out. And there are just a ton of videos on this channel I'm sure you'll be interested in if you like getting your hands dirty. So this is my 1998 Porsche Boxster, just the base model, and I'll be using it to show you guys a 15-minute survey. So when you go to see the car for the first time, what should you look for? Should you continue looking or just walk away? So before you rush out the door, here are a few items to bring to help you complete a more thorough inspection. Reading glasses if you have them. It will make it a lot easier for looking at paperwork and looking over at fine details of the car. Number 2 is a flashlight. Any flashlight will do. I happen to like these. They flip open. They have 2 levels of brightness, and then they have this directional light, USB chargeable. I'll put a link to these and some of the other tools in the description of this video if you want to pick them up on Amazon. Some sort of a magnet can help you detect whether the car's panels have a lot of filler in them or if they are solid metal, and I would recommend covering it with a microfiber cloth or something to make sure you don't scratch the paint. But this is one thing you'll definitely want to ask the seller permission to do ahead of time. Now, you're going to want to bring some kind of digital camera. These days pretty much everybody uses their cell phone for that, and that is perfect. Just take lots of pictures of the car while you're there. A lot of times it's not until after you leave that you think of something that you wanted to look at. If you have pictures of everything, you can go and refer to those pictures. If you can bring a friend or a knowledgeable enthusiast about cars, it is always great to have a second opinion, and it also helps just for general safety. Having some sort of a mirror on a stick so that you can look under the car without having to get down there is very helpful. And do plan on getting dirty, so wear some clothes that you don't mind getting dirty. All right, so once you arrive, I would start with the exterior and just give it a quick inspection by looking for any signs of obvious body damage and accident repairs. You can check some random spots where it should be metal. If the magnet sticks, move on. If it doesn't, find out why. Any corrosion or rust damage is usually pretty easy to spot, as the paint will be bubbled or cracked. Here you can see that it is bubbled in this area. So as you look around the car at different angles and different light, you will be able to see that. You should measure the body panel gaps around the front and rear luggage compartment lids and the doors. If the gaps are even, that usually means the body is straight. Major inconsistencies and gaps indicate the car has been repaired or has had a major accident. So as you look down here, you see that the panel is pretty uniformly gapped around there. And just check around all the taillight assembly, headlight assemblies, and this cowl right here. If you see any wide gap or really narrow gap that doesn't match with the other side, that's an issue to ask about. You can see that the door gap is pretty uniform all the way around. So you want to look for obvious signs of repainting, such as different shades and overspray. So especially out in the sun, if you look at the car and you see that one panel is slightly darker or lighter than the rest of your car, there's a good chance that panel has been repainted. If you see signs of overspray, like right here on these door seals, you can tell that this car has been repainted. Good places to look for overspray are under the wheel well and inside your door jamb here. Now, if it's a really good quality repaint, that should not deter you from buying the car, but it should help you negotiate the price down. Check around the headlight assembly for stone chip damage and cracked lenses. One of the very common Boxster issues is the lens fogging up with age. Usually that can be buffed out, but if it is the internals here, this is an aftermarket one, but most of the internals are actually yellow and burnt and or melting, so take a look at those. The cooling system for the Boxsters has the radiators up here in the front. So this is an aftermarket bumper, but if you look here, you can see the radiator on the right side of the car. Here's the radiator on the left side of the car. If you are looking at a Boxster S model, there will be a radiator in the middle. Otherwise, there will not be one there. Another Achilles heel of these cars is lots of junk getting in here and trapped in there. I have recently cleaned my radiators. If you look in and see lots of junk and trash and debris, it probably means the owner has not really taken really good care of that. If there's organic materials in there, they will decay eventually, and they can cause all kinds of corrosion issues as the car ages. So just check the condition of the rear taillight lens assembly. Again, this one is an aftermarket LED one, so yours will probably not look like this, but just check it out for any cracks or water that you can see getting in there. So you should check all of your door and window seals, make sure that everything is closed tightly, that this seal seems like a nice, good quality piece of rubber still. It's not deteriorating. Have the seller extend the rear spoiler wing to the fully open position and inspect it for any evidence of damage, rubbing, and corrosion. So as it goes up, just keep an eye, make sure it doesn't rub anywhere, and then have them retract the rear spoiler to its full down position while you watch to see if it runs smoothly. If it goes down and it looks kind of jerky, there could be an issue with the motors in there, or they could just need to be lubricated. In case your seller isn't familiar with his car, he has to put the key in the ignition, and there's a little button down here in the footwell. This button right here raises and lowers the spoiler manually. Check the brake disc rotors, the calipers, and the pads. Make sure the discs are not damaged. There's no sign of cracking or anything wrong with them. So like I said, your camera is an essential tool. You can just stick it straight through here and you can see the actual brake pad. You can see that there's some good pad life left on this one. Also look around on here, especially on your caliper and the other areas, to see if you see any brake fluid leaking. If you see any really dark wet spots, then that could be cause for concern. You can look under your wheel well, and you can even just stick it under the tire and look back here at some of the suspension components. Have the seller operate the powered top while he has the door closed. If he turns the ignition on and pulls the latch here, you want to keep an eye on your windows because they should automatically lower a little bit. If they don't, that is a problem with one of the switches. Now, as he's opening it, I would find it interesting to see whether he stops midway through and does what is known as the Boxster chop if he has a plastic window, to make sure that it is not getting creased and folded on itself, because that is what you should do. And it's good preventative maintenance for your car. If you have a glass window, obviously that's not a concern. So as it's going up and down, keep an eye on this cowl and make sure that it is operating smoothly and evenly. Now pay attention to the left side. You see it did not close all the way completely flush. That indicates an issue. So with the top both fully open and fully closed, I would inspect the fabric of the top carefully and all of the seals around it. Make sure everything is in good shape, because these things are not cheap to replace. I would ask the seller if there have been any repairs of the top carried out. Also, there is an optional hard top for the Boxster, and if the sale is including a hard top, you want to inspect it and make sure that the color matches. Check the overall condition of it and check that the fittings are in good order. I don't have one, so I can't show you, but you can have them show you the points where it attaches. Check the points on the car itself and the mechanisms on the hardtop. And as with any car that you are inspecting, you will want to look underneath it and see if there is any sign of liquid. It could be oil, it could be radiator fluid, it could just be water, but you want to get down there and see if there's any moisture. All right, let's move on to the interior of our inspection. First thing I'm going to look at is this seat. I'm going to check it, and I'm going to note here that it is still pretty supple, although there are some signs of age. You're going to expect that in an older car. This one has a little patch right here, which doesn't bother me. It blends in well, but you're going to want to check that the seat motions move like they should. You're going to check behind there, check the condition. You're going to operate all of these switches. This is an electric forward and back for the top of the seat. Mine here has a manual raising and lowering function. And at the front of them, there's a little handle that you grab and lift up that allows the seat to slide forward and backwards. So check all of those mechanisms. You can check all of the trim panels to make sure that none of them are missing or cracked, especially the dashboard. Cracked dashboards are extremely expensive to repair if that's something that's going to bother you and you're going to want to have repaired. Now, some models like mine do not have a glove box. If yours does, go ahead and check that. Make sure it operates smoothly. Make sure all of your buttons are in good order, the ones that you have. I would turn the ignition on as well. Check that all of the lights are operating, and also obviously the odometer is something you'll want to know if that has been reported accurately or not. You'll see that little indicator there told me that the oil was at the proper level. So right below the stick here is the window switches, so you can check them out and make sure that they work properly. They do have an auto up. If you just tap it up, it should go all the way up. And if you just touch down, it should go all the way down. If you have switches behind those with little heated seat icons, then you have heated seats. So you can go ahead and test those as well. Make sure that they are working as expected. Go ahead and check the lighting, make sure that that functions. Ask the seller if there have been any problems with airbags, especially if while you are running the car, the airbag light is on. So here's a very important step for Boxsters. You're gonna want to check the mats with your hands and check under the mats for any moisture, because if you feel water down here at all, your immobilizer is under this seat that controls all of the locks and a lot of the electronics in the car. So if water gets down here, that can get fried, and that is an expensive repair. When you raise and lower the windows, make sure that there is no water trapped in the door. If there's any moisture when the window comes up on the window, that would be an issue with water behind this panel. Right by the driver's seat in the door well are going to be your hood releases, one for the rear, one for the front. If you have an older Boxster like mine, you're going to have mechanical ones that you physically pull up and it pulls a cable to release it. If you have newer ones, you will have an actual electric button that you press to open them. So once the rear has been released, you just lift up, and you're going to want to check to make sure that these struts are strong enough to hold this up. If you push it down, it should come up a little bit on its own. So you want to look around. Sorry, mine is full of electrical stuff for the new house, but you want to check in here. Also feel for moisture. This carpet is all around here. One specific area of concern is to look around this cap. This is where the coolant is, and this is the storage tank for it. So it's got an indicator level here, but a common problem is for these things to crack. And if you touch down here and feel any moisture or smell any coolant, it's easier to hide the moisture than it is the smell. So if you smell coolant, that's probably a bad sign, or if there's any moisture around here. So you want to go ahead and check all of the seals while you're back here. Make sure that those are all in good shape and that you're not going to be getting any moisture in the car. So quickly do the same thing for the front hood. There's a little latch here that will allow you to lift that up. So that's the latch. And the same here, there is carpet all around here, and you should have a spare tire right here in the front. It's got a little Velcro thing that you can look through here and see, but you're probably going to want to take this cover off, inspect the tire in here, make sure that it looks like it's in good condition. So without having to remove it from the mount, you can pull this cover back, and behind it you should see a little piece of foam that has your jack stuff in there to help you jack up your car. So I would go ahead and remove this altogether and make sure that that is in place. Another easy compartment to check is this cover here that is covering your battery. These things just twist 90 degrees, come out, and then you just remove this panel and gives you access to the battery. You can check the date on that, see how new this thing is, make sure there's no corrosion or anything bad going on in there. Somewhere in the front you should have this little toolkit. It might be behind the tire, it might be just laying in here somewhere, but it's a good idea just to pull this out, open it up, make sure that you're not missing any tools. So it should pretty much have something in each of these compartments. I won't get into what all of these are right now, but if there's anything obviously missing or rusted or broken, you can ask the seller about that. So you should check the compartment's paneled areas for moisture damage and staining. If everything is clean, what lies beneath them is probably in good condition. It's a pain for everybody to try to remove these and check right now. Now this is designed to be just a quick 15-minute inspection of the car, and if you wanted to check the engine compartment, it falls a little bit outside of that. But the engine, if you do not know, this is a mid-engine car, so the engine is directly behind the seats right here. If you lift this up halfway, you can gain access to it. It's a little cumbersome to open the cover to see the engine, but I have a video. I'll put a link to it right here. If you want to see how to do that, you can ask the seller to let you see it. He should know how to see it, but many people do not. They've never done it. They don't work on their cars themselves, so they've had no reason to access it. Next, I'd ask the seller for all the documentation that they have related to the car, including the owner's manual that I have right here, any service records that they have, emissions, inspections, import stuff, roadworthiness inspections, all repair receipts that they might have. Now, one very important piece of documentation is the white sticker that should be under the hood right here. So right here, it has the VIN, and it also has in bold here the digits 7 and 8 show you the year. So mine is a 98. This sticker also shows you the type or model code, the engine type, engine code, transmission type, paint code, interior color combination code, country code, and the options installed. So if this sticker is missing, ask the seller why. If the seller can't tell you why that sticker is not there, walk away. You want to make sure that this car is genuine and legal. Now the VIN on this label must match other VINs in various locations around the car. One being right here on your dash that you can see through the windshield. And the driver's side door, at least in the US, is where you will find it on this black tag right here. Also, just a fun fact, all of the Boxster and Boxster S models were either manufactured in Stuttgart, Germany by Porsche AG or in Finland by Valmet. This means the 11th digit of the VIN will be an S for 986s manufactured in Germany and the U for those manufactured in Finland. So here's my U for a Finnish Boxster. So a lot of things you're just not going to find unless you're a really experienced 986 person or you are watching this video. Hopefully it will help you find a lot of things. But if you're a first-time buyer, it's much better to go armed with some questions. So here are a few things that you should ask the seller. Was this 986 built for the market that you're buying it in, or was it imported from somewhere else? Has this car been used for track days or any sort of driver performance classes? And if not, why not? Is the mileage accurate? I just missed all 7s for the video. Was this thing a daily driver? Did you just drive it on the weekends? Was there a lot of heavy traffic? What was the normal use case? Has this car been in an accident? Is that why that crack is here and this is here? Yes, for those of you at home, I was rear-ended a few weeks ago. Have there been any performance modifications, including engine and transmission? Are there any known issues with any of the car's electrical or electronic systems? Of course, asking all of these questions is only as good as the answers that you're getting, and it's going to be up to you to decide whether or not you trust those answers from the seller. So just a general word of advice, if you come across a wrecked one or one with a lot of damage and you're thinking, hey, the price is great, I'm just going to go ahead and restore this thing. Well, there's lots of great Boxsters out there that don't need to be restored. And unless you are a glutton for punishment or just love doing that as a hobby, I would avoid that if I were you, just because it is not an economic option. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and it will be a great tool for you when you go check out the vehicle for the first time. So for the next episode, I'm going to do a more in-depth 60-minute evaluation of the car, where I assume that you have access to a lift, possibly taking it to an independent mechanic or lifting it yourself. So please make sure you have liked this video, you're subscribed to the channel, put that little bell notification on, and you'll be notified when the next episode comes out. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.